Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Lincoln Wheat Penny coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today we're talking about the 1954 1-cent coin, a penny that may seem ordinary at first glance, but has a history and potential worth far beyond its face value. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be checking your coin jar with a whole new perspective. Now, let's take a trip back in time to 1954. The United States was in the middle of the post-war economic boom, and life was starting to settle into a new normal after the turbulence of World War II. At that time, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies to meet the needs of a growing economy. The 1954 penny, like most coins of that era, was made primarily of copper and featured Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse, while the reverse showcased the iconic wheat stalks, a design that would remain until 1958. On the surface, the 1954 penny might appear to be just another everyday coin that was used in circulation for many years. But here's the twist: while it was indeed produced in huge quantities, some of these pennies are extremely rare, especially when you consider their condition and specific minting errors. It's the rare examples of the 1954 penny that are worth much more than their face value, and today, we're going to explore why. Let's first talk about rarity. The 1954 penny is one of those coins that were struck in large numbers, so you'll come across plenty of them, especially in circulated condition. However, the real value is found in the ones that have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition. Most 1954 pennies you'll find have been through the ringer, tossed around, worn down by years of use, and are in less than perfect shape. But, if you manage to find a 1954 penny that has been kept in excellent condition, sharp, crisp details and no visible wear, then you're looking at a coin that could fetch a significant amount of money. But here's where things get even more exciting: minting errors. These are the real gems in the coin collecting world, and they can make your 1954 penny worth a lot more than you might expect. One of the most famous errors to look out for is the double die variety. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing the design to be stamped twice. When this happens, you might see doubled features on the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's face, or even the date, creating a unique effect that collectors go wild for. Double die pennies are incredibly rare, and if you happen to have one, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Another error that's highly sought after in the 1954 penny is the repunched mint mark. You'll find this error when the mint mark, the small letter indicating where the coin was minted, is stamped multiple times, resulting in a blurry or doubled mint mark. This is another example of a minting mistake that adds uniqueness to the coin and can greatly increase its value. Minting errors like this are extremely rare and highly prized by collectors because they offer something truly special that you won't find on just any penny. So, just how much can a 1954 penny be worth? If you happen to have a 1954 penny in near mint or uncirculated condition, or even better, a rare error coin, you could be looking at a surprising value. In fact, the most valuable 1954 pennies, those in exceptional condition or with a significant minting error, have been known to sell for as much as $77,000, yes, you heard that right, $77,000 for a single penny. It's hard to believe that something as simple as a 1-cent coin could be worth that much, but when you factor in rarity, condition, and the presence of a minting error, the price can skyrocket. If you've got a 1954 penny in your collection, or if you come across one in your change, make sure to check its condition carefully. Even the smallest details, like the sharpness of Lincoln's image or any potential errors in the mint mark, could significantly affect its value. So, next time you're going through your spare change or looking at your coin collection, take a closer look at those 1954 pennies. They may look like everyday coins, but they just might be hiding a lot more value than you ever expected. Whether it's a coin in pristine condition or one with a rare minting error, the 1954 penny is a reminder that sometimes, the most valuable things are the ones we least expect. Top 2. We're diving into something that might be hiding right in your pocket change, the 1957 1-cent coin. This small penny might seem unremarkable at first glance, but trust me, it holds more value than you could ever imagine. If you're a coin collector or just curious about what makes certain coins so special, you're going to want to hear about the 1957 penny, its hidden worth, and the rare errors that can make this penny worth a small fortune. The 1957 penny was minted during a fascinating time in American history. It was a year that followed the end of World War II, and the country was in the midst of a post-war economic boom. The 1950s were all about growth, prosperity, and change. The penny itself, featuring the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln, had been in circulation for decades, and the design on the reverse, wheat stalks, was already becoming a collector's favorite. But it's not just about the design. The 1957 penny is rare for a few very specific reasons, which we'll dive into in just a moment. So, what makes the 1957 penny different from all the other pennies minted around that time? Well, the first thing to note is the sheer number of these coins that were produced. The U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies every year, and the 1957 penny was no exception. But here's the kicker: most of these coins were used in everyday transactions and circulated for decades. Over time, most of them became worn out, damaged, or lost. This means that finding a 1957 penny in pristine or even near mint condition is incredibly rare. If you have a 1957 penny that is in great shape, then you're already holding on to something special. Uncirculated coins, those that have never been in circulation, are some of the most sought-after items for collectors. They can fetch significant value simply because of their excellent condition. But there's more. Even pennies that have seen some circulation but have been carefully stored can still be worth quite a bit if they are in what's called about uncirculated or AU condition. So, before you toss those old pennies aside, give them a closer look. You might be holding onto a coin that could be worth much more than you think. Now, let's talk about errors, because here's where things get really interesting. Error coins are among the most prized and valuable in the world of numismatics. Why? Because they are one-of-a-kind pieces, and a small mistake during the minting process can result in a coin that stands out from all the others. And the 1957 penny has its fair share of minting errors that make it especially valuable. One of the most exciting errors to look out for is the double die variety. A double die occurs when the design on the coin is struck twice by the minting die, causing parts of the image to appear doubled. This can happen to the date, the letters, or even Abraham Lincoln's portrait. A 1957 penny with a double die is extremely rare and highly desirable to collectors. These pennies are sought after because they are unique and represent an error that occurred during the minting process, something that's impossible to replicate. If you find one of these error pennies in your collection, you could be looking at a coin that's worth thousands of dollars. Another type of error that adds to the value of the 1957 penny is a repunched mintmark error. This happens when the mintmark, the small letter indicating where the coin was minted, is stamped multiple times, creating a blurry or doubled mintmark. While this might sound small, it can have a huge impact on the value of the coin. Error coins like this are rare, and collectors will pay top dollar for one that is in good condition. So, just how much can a 1957 penny with these errors or in perfect condition be worth? Well, the value of a 1957 penny can vary greatly depending on its condition and any errors it may have. However, if you're lucky enough to have a 1957 penny in exceptional condition, or even one with a rare minting error, you could be sitting on a coin worth as much as $74,000. Yes, you heard that right, $74,000. For a single penny. That's the kind of value a rare, well-preserved, or error-laden 1957 penny can fetch. It's incredible to think that something so small and seemingly insignificant could hold such immense worth. So, what's the takeaway from today's video? If you've got a collection of old pennies or if you come across a 1957 1-cent coin in your spare change, take the time to inspect it closely. Pay attention to the condition of the coin and look for any minting errors like double die or repunched mint marks. You could be holding onto a coin that's worth thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars. Top 3. We're going to dive into one of the most intriguing pennies you might not even realize could be hiding in your collection, the 1953 1-cent coin. Now, when you think of valuable coins, your mind might jump to gold, silver, or rare limited edition pieces. But what if I told you that a humble 1953 penny could be worth a small fortune? Stick around to the end, because we'll reveal exactly how much this penny can be worth and what makes it so special. First, let's take a step back and talk about why the 1953 penny stands out in the world of numismatics. The United States Mint produced billions of these coins, just like they did with other pennies at the time. The design, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the famous wheat stalks on the reverse, had been in circulation for many decades by 1953. The coin was part of the ongoing post-World War II economic boom in the U.S., a time when the country was rebuilding and growing in new and exciting ways. But even though these pennies were widespread, there's something that makes the 1953 version different from the others. The first thing you should know is that the 1953 penny is considered one of the more common dates in the series, meaning that a lot of these coins were minted and circulated. However, the true value of a 1953 penny comes down to its condition. While most of these coins were used in daily transactions and have since become worn out, if you happen to come across one in great shape, perhaps even uncirculated, it could be worth a lot more than face value. But wait, there's more to the story. You see, while the 1953 penny may have been produced in large quantities, there are certain rarities and errors that can make a specific penny from this year incredibly valuable. And, as any serious collector knows, error coins are some of the most prized possessions in numismatics. The reason? Well, error coins are rare by definition. They're mistakes made during the minting process, which means they are unique. A single error coin could stand out from the millions of regular issue coins, and it's that rarity that drives up the value. Let's start with one of the most desirable errors you'll want to look out for, the double die variety. This error occurs when the design is struck more than once, causing the image on the coin to appear doubled. It's not always easy to spot, but if you look closely at the date or the letters on the coin, you might notice that they appear blurred or slightly out of alignment. The 1953 penny with a double die is highly sought after by collectors, as it's a rare and unique example of a mistake made during the minting process. These coins are often worth significantly more than standard 1953 pennies, and they could easily be worth thousands of dollars. Another type of error you should be aware of is the repunched mint mark. This occurs when the mint mark, the small letter that indicates where the coin was minted, is struck more than once, resulting in a blurry or doubled mint mark. This can happen if the mint mark is improperly aligned during the production process. If you find a 1953 penny with a repunched mint mark, you're holding onto a piece of history that many collectors would love to get their hands on. Mint mark errors are highly coveted and can substantially increase the value of a coin. Now, let's talk about the overall condition of the coin. As I mentioned earlier, the 1953 penny wasn't exactly a rare year, and most of them were spent and circulated extensively. But the key to making one of these pennies valuable is finding one in pristine condition. A coin that has been well preserved and remains uncirculated or nearly perfect will always command a premium price. For collectors, coins with minimal wear and clear details are far more desirable than those that have been through heavy circulation. So, how much could a 1953 1-cent coin be worth? Well, if you have an uncirculated example or one with a notable error like a double die or repunched mint mark, you could be holding onto a valuable treasure. In fact, a 1953 penny in top-notch condition or with an error could easily fetch a price of $70,000, yes, $70,000 for a single penny. It's mind-blowing, but that's the reality for collectors who understand the value of rare coins. Even a small error, or a coin in fantastic condition, can make all the difference in how much it's worth in today's market. Before you go, take a moment to check through your coin collection or change jar. You never know, there could be a 1953 penny just waiting for you to find it. If you're lucky enough to discover one in mint condition or with a rare error, you could be looking at a substantial payday. Top 4. We're diving into the fascinating world of one of the most sought-after pennies in American numismatics, the 1945 1-cent coin. You may think that pennies are only worth, well, a penny, but this particular year holds a secret that could make it worth a small fortune. Stick around as we uncover what makes the 1945 penny so special, and why it might be worth far more than you expect. Let's start with a little historical background. The 1945 penny was produced during a pivotal time in American history. World War II was winding down, and the country was in the midst of transitioning from wartime production to peacetime manufacturing. The U.S. Mint was working hard to produce the everyday currency the nation needed, and the 1945 penny was part of that effort. At first glance, it might seem like just another penny, one of the billions of coins produced during the 1940s. However, this humble coin has some fascinating features that make it stand out to collectors. One of the first things that make the 1945 penny unique is its design. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln, as is typical of the penny, and the reverse showcases the iconic wheat stalks, a design that was used on U.S. pennies from 1909 to 1958. While the design is familiar, what sets the 1945 penny apart is the specific circumstances of its mintage. World War II had a major impact on the U.S. Mint, and in the years immediately following the war, the production of coins faced some challenges, which led to certain issues that would make some of the 1945 pennies highly collectible. Now, let's talk about rarity. The 1945 penny wasn't minted in a particularly low quantity, but certain factors contributed to its scarcity in top-quality condition. Most of the coins from this era were used in everyday transactions and spent years in circulation, causing significant wear and tear. That means finding a 1945 penny in pristine, uncirculated condition is extremely rare, and that rarity is what drives its value up. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything, and a well-preserved 1945 penny is a gem that collectors are always on the lookout for. But here's where things get even more interesting. Some 1945 pennies have an additional feature that can make them incredibly valuable: minting errors. These mistakes are what really excite collectors, as they're one-of-a-kind items that stand out from the rest. One of the most notable errors found in 1945 pennies is the double die variety. This occurs when the coin's design is struck more than once, causing the image to appear doubled or blurry. In the case of the 1945 penny, a double die error on the date or lettering can make a coin worth thousands of dollars, as these errors are quite rare and highly sought after by collectors. Another type of error to look for is a repunched mint mark. The mint mark is the small letter on the coin that indicates where it was produced, usually D for Denver, or S for San Francisco. Sometimes, due to a mistake during the minting process, the mint mark can appear twice, creating a repunched effect. This is a subtle error, but if you happen to find a 1945 penny with a repunched mint mark, it's definitely something that would catch the eye of any serious collector. And then, we have the factor of historical significance. Coins minted during certain historical periods tend to carry more weight with collectors. The 1945 penny, coming at the tail end of World War II, carries with it the history of that era. Anything from the World War II period has a special place in the hearts of history buffs and collectors alike, which adds an extra layer of appeal to this particular penny. Now, let's get to the exciting part. How much could your 1945 penny be worth? Well, if you happen to have an uncirculated 1945 penny or one with a minting error, you could be looking at a coin that's worth quite a bit more than its face value. In fact, a 1945 penny in exceptional condition or with a rare error could fetch a staggering $78,000. Yes, you heard that right, $78,000 for a single penny. It's hard to believe, but in the world of rare coins, this isn't as unusual as it may seem. A coin's rarity, condition, and historical significance can drive its value up to incredible levels, and the 1945 penny is a perfect example of that. If you're lucky enough to find one of these rare treasures, you could be holding on to a small fortune. So, next time you're going through your change or digging through your coin collection, make sure to keep an eye out for any 1945 pennies. Who knows? You might just discover a hidden gem worth thousands of dollars. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare and valuable coins, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another exciting discovery. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting.